This is Wildcat Country.
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
It's Gunnar Maldonado. He's got blockers. Touchdown, Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrahs Auction Casino. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale. And man, Shane, let me tell you something. We are as things go. Let me rephrase. As things go, it's a hell of a week to do a show.
Yeah, it was already setting up to be a great show. We have some fantastic guests who I'll let you introduce. But yeah, I've rarely been more excited for a show than this one. I was already excited for it because of the guests we had. But then when you consider the results of the last couple of days, both of which I did not predict and was thrilled to be wrong about. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Eric, how much did those Final Four tickets cost that you bought after Monday night's game?
All right, so let me say this before I introduce the rest of the show. I'm sitting there in Scottsdale, DraftKings Sportsbook, watching the game with a friend. And 5 minutes into the game, I'm like, screw this team. They're done. Overrated. Awful. And I get, you get emotional while watching these games. I'll own that. I sounded like an absolute idiot. So there's a friend of mine who's from out of town, comes in. He was going to meet me at DK. I texted him. I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I gave you Arizona money line plus 140. I'm sorry I gave you that pick. That was a terrible pick by me. And so he shows up. He's like, you're down 5. What's the problem? Well, he didn't see they were down 12.
Yeah.
Koa Peat, he's the real deal. And we'll talk about that in a second. Let me preview the show. We have in segment number 2, we're going to do buy or sell in segment number 1. Segment number 2, Fran Fraschilla, the great Fran Fraschilla, going to join us from ESPN, former New Mexico St. John's head coach. Great guest, second appearance on the program. Really looking forward to having him. Then I have to go count it up, Shane, but maybe a record-setting appearance for Barrett Baker, who comes on with us pretty much every other week at this point during football season.
Yeah, there's been several people who have vied for our most frequent guest. I know our buddy Jeff Dean was on that list, the Professor Matt Moreno, but Barrett, just over the last couple of months, Barrett might have overtaken both of them. But you know what, Eric? You got your research cut out for you there.
Before next week's show, I need to work on that. And then finally, we're going to have Mike Kintner, the general manager from Harrahs Auction Casino, because he went to both Kansas and Arizona, so might as well have him on to tell us what's going on out at the casino and, of course, pick some games. So that's what we'll do. This is a big-time show. Appreciate you all listening throughout. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. All right, let's get to it. It's Buy or Sell, presented by our friends at Ice Shaker. Shane, you are holding Ice Shaker's newest creation and drinking out of it right now. What can you tell us about it?
Sipping some Deion Sanders tears. Yes, it's the 40-ounce Legacy Series Ice Shaker with a nice handle here. Got it in Wildcat red and blue, courtesy of our guy Chris Gronkowski. Check it out at iceshaker.com. They really do keep your drinks cold, keep your drinks warm, no matter what you want. They are awesome to take out in the golf course, like I know you have plenty of times, Eric. So definitely check them out.
And always appreciate their sponsorship of this segment. All right, number 1, Shane. I guess I really don't have any buy or sell. I just want to say 2 words and just let you respond to them. Koa Peat.
Yeah. Well, you could say buy or sell this Arizona basketball team because like you, Eric, you formulate an opinion and you try to think, okay, they're down early, and you think, okay, maybe it's impossible not to go down that rabbit hole of, okay, maybe they're not that good. And then they're ahead at halftime and you think maybe they are that good. And then you go back. Koa Peat. Look, I'll talk about it. I want to get one negative out of the way because, I'm an actually negative guy. I'm going to get the one thing. I think this team might struggle to finish these kinds of games, at least early in the season. It's always tough to close against good teams, but especially when you're a younger team and the pressure's on, I think it's even more difficult. We saw that when Florida almost paid Arizona back for 2012. I was thinking this could be like the opposite of 2012 when Arizona was down 6 with a minute left and came back and won in McHale. But look, Arizona, they were up 9 with less than 2 minutes left. Florida had a chance to tie after a couple of turnovers. Credit to Arizona for finding a way to finish anyway. but I think there's a good chance at some point in the season that might bite the Wildcats. But I'm done. I'm done now. What really got me excited about this game is a lot of guys didn't play their best. And in Braden Burry's case, he didn't play much at all because of foul trouble. And Arizona still beat the defending national champs. Koa Peat, I don't know what else there's to say about him besides what's already been said. It's hard to call someone a freshman of the year front runner after one game, but he looked every bit the part. He looked like a veteran out there. I mean, not just in terms of a stat line, but just in terms of his presence. He played well beyond his age, and certainly his time, which time he at Team USA, I'm sure that helped as well. Like he mentioned after the game in his post game interview. Jaden Bradley, you talk about U of A needing to find a new closer now that Caleb Love is gone. Jaden put the team on his back late. He scored 10 straight points for the Wildcats at one point, made 9 of 10 free throws. And then the wild card we've talked about, Ivan Karchenkov, made some big plays despite getting hurt a couple times in the game. I think Arizona has a lot of room for improvement, and they're already a really good team. That's what gets me excited. Barrios will play better. He'll play more. Krivas, I think, will play better. Aristode will play better and get more minutes. Del Orso will look better. So it's just one game, but if you want to get excited about how good this team could be, I ain't going to stop you after what we saw in Las Vegas.
I mean, listen, Karchenkov was really impressive. Koa Peat was fantastic. I mean, what can you say? I mean, people are comparing him to Zion when Zion burst on.
Yeah.
It's one game. I don't want to get
Yeah.
carried away. I mean, Burry's got in foul trouble early, 2 fouls in 3 minutes. I thought, okay, Arizona's in trouble. I mean, he didn't do anything, and I thought he was arguably could be the better freshman for Arizona. But
Right.
we talked for a while, Shane, about who's going to be Arizona's go-to guy. I mean, I think we saw it in game one. It's Koa Peat and it's Jaden Bradley. You have two of them, and both those guys took over, and you beat. And I don't know that Florida. I mean, these preseason rankings, you don't want to overhype it.
Yeah.
These guys took over the game, and Arizona won because of those two guys. Krivas wasn't great. Awako was okay. Del Orso was okay. Those two guys, Bradley and Koa Peat, were all Big 12, potentially All Americans. They played like that in game one.
And again, when you consider that Braden Berries, a lot of people thought was going to be the best player on this team going into the season, and we talked about maybe that alpha that Arizona would need late in games, and of course he wasn't out there because he fouled out. We're talking about two other guys now, and so imagine when Berries gets going. So again, it's the funny thing about college basketball because now we're going to root for Florida the rest of the season because we want that win to look as good as possible. And hopefully it is. And hopefully Florida's still a very good team. And I think they will be. But they're going to keep getting tested. They got UCLA, they got UConn, they got the Alabama, they got Auburn, they got San Diego State. And then there's that Big 12 schedule, which is a gauntlet as well. So I love that they opened the season this way. I love that they opened it with a win. I think that exhibition game against St. Mary's only helped. And again, I think this is a team still with a lot of upside. Koa Peat, he's not going to carry the team every night like he did against Florida, but I don't think he's going to have to. I think you're going to see a lot of maturation, especially from the younger guys as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really impressive. I mean, Arizona, their next test is going to be a week from Friday, I believe, at UConn. But right now, I mean, this team deserves to be flying high, and I think you're going to see. All right, so let's look at their schedule. They have Utah Tech on Friday night. Arizona right now is ranked 13th, and they have. Oh, sorry, I got this mixed up. All right, I'm sorry. So it goes Utah Tech Friday, then it goes NAU on Tuesday. So for the NAU game, I expect Arizona to be ranked in the neighborhood of 8. I mean, they're going to move up a lot with that win over Florida. Mm-hmm. Then next Friday on the 14th. We're going to see them against UCLA, a late game at the Intuit Dome. I mean, that's a game UCLA is good, but Arizona should win that game. And then you have to go at UConn. And if Arizona loses that game and it's by less than 10 points, you can't really fault them for that.
Yeah.
I last week on the show, I said I thought Arizona would beat Florida. I hit that.
You did.
I said Arizona by 5. What they win by? They won by
6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay, that's close. I mean, a win's
And I had Florida winning by 5, by the way. So you were spot on.
So I said that Arizona would not win 10 of their 13 non-conference games. I would change that now. I think Arizona's a 10-3, 11-2. And I think I will very likely pick them to beat UCLA on next week's show.
No. But if they beat UCLA, it will be the ref's fault. Mick Cronin will tell us about it after the game.
Yes, because he's a whiny little, you know what. Oh, we're going to talk a lot more basketball with Fran Fraschilla. So I don't want to go, you and I just kind of reacting to what we saw on Monday night. We're recording this on Tuesday. It was fantastic. Let's talk a little football, Shane. It was a tremendous game that Arizona played against Colorado. But buy or sell, Brent Brennan called off the Dogs too early. 52 points, 9 minutes left in the third quarter. Keep scoring.
I'll sell that. I was surprised that he put in reserves halfway through the third quarter, or at least some reserves. But it was the right move, especially with Noah Fafita, because as we saw, there is a significant drop off from QB1 to QB2 at Arizona. This isn't a team that could still find ways to win with a backup quarterback, because Braden Locke just does not. I'm going to be nice about it. Just does not appear to be that guy.
No.
If Noah gets hurt, knock on wood, Arizona wouldn't win another game this year.
No.
But yeah, I picked Colorado to win just because I needed to see Arizona win a road game before I could pick them to win a road game again. But it was a game, I said it last week, it was a game Arizona should have won, and they did. I think the final margin speaks at least as much to Colorado's current struggles, and Deion Sanders I don't know if you saw his post-game interview. He was a bit of a rambling mess, even more so than usual. Didn't make any of his players available to the media. He just kept saying, "This is on me. But he kept saying, "This is on me. This is on," but he went on for 15 minutes without really saying anything at all.
Okay. Fair. Yeah.
But they're Colorado's kind of where Arizona was last year at this time in the season. But I love how resilient this team is. Arizona had back-to-back heartbreaking losses. They had a bye week to stew about it. That could have gone one of two directions, of course, and they came out firing on all three phases. Still some stuff to clean up, which is always the case, but you got to love the direction of the program. Suddenly 7 wins, maybe even 8 if everything goes right. Seems a lot more realistic, but to your question, no, I think putting in reserves sooner rather than later is probably the right move, especially because, a quarterback and some other positions, Arizona just doesn't have that much depth. You get more experience for the guys who haven't played as much as well. I would have liked to have seen Mason Bray in the game as well, maybe for the last possession, but I understand they're trying to get Braden Locke more reps and get his confidence up, which didn't work out. But I had no problem with that move at all.
Yeah, Locke does not look like a D1 quarterback. And I watched a little bit of him at Wisconsin last year. He was not great, but his level this year is not good.
To be fair, he did have a touchdown pass called back after a holding penalty. But yeah, that was
okay.
But, yeah, that was the one.
He does not look the part. Okay, we'll say that. I will say this, Shane. I am going to buy. I thought that they should have run it up. You should have at least left them until the end of the third quarter.
Just for fun, just to say.
Yeah, well, you can run the ball. Noah Fafita should be in there handing the ball off just in case. He could throw a pass here or there, but I thought they called the Dogs off too soon.
Well, the thing is, they came very close to scoring more. It was that Genesis Smith looked like he had a pick 6 and he was tripped up inside the 5, and then Locke throws a touchdown, gets called back, and then they missed the field goal, so they could have easily gotten to 59 or 60 points. But I'm okay. If you would have given me 52-17 going into the week, I would have gladly taken it. Put it that way.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to argue with that. Let's just say this about football. We'll talk about this with Barrett. At 5-3 with a home game on tap and you're favored by more than a field goal, this remains a must-win game for Arizona by yourself.
To keep the momentum going and get the fans back on the bandwagon, absolutely. I think you have to follow this up with another win. Kansas is a better team than Colorado was. They'll absolutely present a tougher test, and we'll get more to that in a little bit. But you look at how Arizona's played in its last 4 games, 2 dominant wins and 2 games that could have easily gone the other way. At this point, fair or not, a loss at home to Kansas, which is a decent team, but very beatable. They've been struggling lately. And you squander all the feel good you're getting from the fan base right now. And then the pitchforks are going to be right back out for Vernon and everyone else. So, yeah, got to keep the momentum going. A must win as far as getting to a bowl game, not necessarily, but a must win as far as, keeping the train rolling. Yeah, absolutely. It's a game that it is another game like last week that Arizona should win.
This is a must-win game. The Brent Brennan talk will stop if you win this game. Now, you don't want to lose 3 in a row to end the year and then potentially lose a bowl game.
It's all week to week.
Yes, but you win this game, and then the objective should be you win one of the last 3. You go 7-5 in the regular season. See what happens in your bowl game. You guarantee yourselves a winning record. That's why I think if you don't win this game, then the possibility of, okay, you're going to probably lose at Cincinnati, Baylor. I mean, you're going to be favored maybe, but there's still a decent team. And then at ASU, who, is going to be without Sam Levitt, which hurts them. Who knows if Jordan Tyson's going to play again for them, but they went to Iowa State and beat them the other day without both those guys.
Yeah.
So you get this win, at least it stops the bleeding until after the ASU game. And then you win the bowl game, then okay, we can all stop. Arizona's 7-6. At this point, Shane, Arizona's 5-3. They must end up with 7 wins one way or the other, and that includes a bowl game. You must.
I think if you win your 2 remaining home games and then you play tough, you battle, but suffer close losses to Cincinnati and ASU, even though there's no the dignity of losing to ASU, I get it, but I think if you go into the offseason 7-5 and feeling good about the direction, most people are going to feel good about the direction of the program after they have a few days to digest a loss to ASU. So I think we're in 90% agreement on this one.
All right, fair enough. Let's do some Shane standouts. What do you got for us?
All right. We've talked about a lot about the rise of the men's tennis team, Eric, but I'd like to mention Stephanie Shogreen on the women's tennis team, who won all 3 of her matches, speaking of ASU, at the ASU Thunderbird Invitational in Tempe on Monday. If you haven't heard of her, Eric, she's kind of a big deal. She's a sophomore from Scottsdale, was a national top 10 player when she was just 14.
Wow.
And she's going to move on to the ITA sectionals in Seattle later this week. So congrats to Stephanie on a great start. And then also mention our volleyball team, which took down number 13 TCU in straight sets in Tucson on Halloween to improve to 6-5 in the Big 12. We've shouted out a lot of volleyball players, but I don't think I mentioned Adriana Bridges before. She's a sophomore who had 11 kills in the match, which was a career high for her. Arizona hosts BYU on Wednesday and Texas Tech on Friday before heading north to play ASU, which is first in the Big 12 next week. That's what I got.
All right. Before we bring on our great show, let me remind you, the rest are our guests, the guest parade. Let me remind you about Harrahs Auction Casino, where you can get $15 in free slot play today. Here's how. Harrahs Auction Casino, just sign up for Caesars Rewards and $15 is yours. Plus, earn up to $100 in additional free slot play. Caesars Rewards is the nation's #1 players card, and at Harrahs Auction Casino, it's the only local casino that has it. Use your $15 in free slot play to earn perks at more than 50 destinations from coast to coast. That free slot play could earn you dinner in Vegas, hotel stays in New Orleans, and more. What are you waiting for? Sign up today. Take a spin with your $15 free slot play and earn up to $100 more. Harrahs Auction Casino is your home for free slot play and more. Play for all. Coming up next, what a show this is. We have Fran Fraschilla. We have Barrett Baker. We have Mike Kintner here on Wildcat Country.
All right, Wildcat fans, let's talk about crushing your workouts with the Ice Shaker 40-ounce Legend Series shaker bottle. It's made from kitchen-grade stainless steel, leak-proof, tough as nails, built-in straw, soft touch handle, and yeah, it keeps your drinks cold for a long time. I got mine in both Wildcat Red and Blue. Be sure to get yours at iceshaker.com.
For the second time on Wildcat Country, this is an honor, really is, to bring on the great Fran Fraschilla, Coach Fran Fraschilla, who is the lead Big 12 analyst on ESPN. Coach, first of all, I mean, last night, 5 minutes into the game, I gave up on the season. I said it's over. I said all this stuff I read from Fran on X.
And just so you know, Fran, he's the guy who said like a month into the season, Arizona was going to miss the tournament last year.
Yeah.
And he hasn't learned his lesson.
I was over. I thought the season was over. I apologize. I was wrong. Fran, look what they did in the second half and late in the first half yesterday.
Yeah.
This team looks really, really good. How good is this version of Arizona, in your opinion?
I'll give you a little heads up. A couple days ago, I texted with the commissioner, Commissioner Yormark, and he was asking me about the league and who, he always wants to know what people who follow the league are thinking. And I said the sleeper Final Four team in your conference is Arizona, and I've felt that way, and you guys know this, but I'll just reiterate it. They've got, and I've been just so I think you guys know, I've been on the JB Smooth bandwagon since last year, and I've talked to Coach Lloyd about it, and I think he thinks he's underrated. I think he's underrated, but I think he's underrated no more after last night. Very much like the Nemharts at Creighton and Gonzaga, guys that you might not think of them as first round picks. You just know they're great college players. And what Jaden did last night was amazing. I know we're going to talk a lot about Koa, but I just feel like they've got a lot of pieces that fit together, veterans and young guys. And we haven't even seen the best of the young guys yet. Wait till Aristode gets healthy and Braden Burry stays out of foul trouble and Karchenkov, I mean, you got to love what he did. So I can go on and on about all these guys, but I'll let you guys fire away.
Yeah, well, no, and Fran, thanks so much for joining us again. And perfect timing on this one.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned what Koa Peat did, and I'm with you. We didn't see much of Braden Berries. Dwayne Aristotle didn't play much. Krivos didn't have a great game, and yet Arizona still beat the number 3 team in the country and the defending national champions.
Yeah.
On Koa Peat,
Yes.
I don't think it's fair to expect 30 points every night, but is he? I mean, does he just in one game go all the way to like first team All-American talk? Do you think he could stay in that discussion?
I do because, I live in Colorado Springs, as you guys know. So I've watched USA basketball come through here every spring as they pick their U16, U17, U18, U19 teams. And, when I was here in the spring before Koa and AJ DeBanza and company went over to Switzerland and won the gold, if you know people around USA basketball, they can't say enough good things about Koa. He and AJ DeBanza, I'll put it this way, okay? The big three of the 3 freshmen that have really been hyped, everybody assumes they're going to be the top 3 picks in the draft, and I do too. Because Koa is only 6'8", and you look at the mock drafts and they've got him anywhere from like 7 to 25, it doesn't diminish the fact that for the last 3 years, he's been as well thought of on that USA basketball circuit as any of those guys. Revered, really, 3 gold medals, 4 state championships. So in a way, what he did last night was not a surprise to those of us who have followed him. And then, but I mean, to say that he's going to do that every night, it's not realistic. But yes, I think he's in contention for first team All-American. And I honestly think the National Player of the Year is going to come from one of those 4 freshmen.
Fair point, and obviously, I'll just say, hopefully, he doesn't have to do what he did last night. Some of the other guys step up, and one of those guys that Eric and I talked about a lot is Ivan Karchenkov, like you mentioned.
Yes,
12 points, 10 rebounds his first game. I know Tommy Lloyd said after the game he's been challenging Karchenkov to get more rebounds, and he did that against Florida. He's the guy that Arizona essentially brought in to replace Carter Bryant. Your thoughts on him and the impact that he could make for Arizona the rest of the season?
Well, I'm not surprised at what he did. He's a young player who's played with older, grown men for the last couple of years and practiced with them every day. And I knew when they signed him, and having followed him in Germany, he brings an element of toughness that you can kind of tell he has. He's kind of like a fearless type guy. The outside shooting was my one question mark, and he hit 2 threes last night. But the toughness, the ability to get to the rim, I do think he's capable of grabbing rebounds for this team. Not only surprised in that the moment wasn't too big for him. Like you would have thought, like no matter where he played in Germany and with who and how old they were, that playing in that environment last night might have spooked him a little bit. But it's clear it didn't. And boy, I think he's going to give them, in that 8 to 10 points a game range this year, 6 rebounds and give you the toughness to go along with all the other complementary pieces that I think we'll talk about.
When you were coaching, did you stick to a 7, 8 man rotation like Tommy Lloyd does, or were you going 9 or 10 deep? What's the right philosophy in your opinion when it comes to depth?
There's no right philosophy, Eric. Some coaches think differently than others. They trust 7 or 8 instead of 10. And really, it goes year to year, really. I know at Gonzaga, they were always a 7, 8 man team. It looks that way, with Tommy so far at Arizona. 8, Bill Self told me this a few years ago. He thought 8.5 was optimum,
Mhm.
and I think that's kind of where Arizona could be this year. 8 some nights, 9 some other nights, maybe 10 but I think 8 or 9 is safe to say. But again, so much of this is, can you keep everybody healthy too? Because that's always a wild card. But I think he's got 8 good players. We have not, as you guys know, Dwayne Aristode is just getting back to form after missing a year last year, but he's got great potential. If he's healthy, he's going to be a huge addition. And obviously, we think Braden's not going to be in foul trouble every night. And based on what we saw in the preseason, he's going to have a chance to be a great contributor also.
I hate to ask this question, but we like to point out both sides of the equation here.
Yeah.
Generally, the reputation on European players is that they are soft. Now, Mo
No,
Krivas, you don't buy.
no,
So
not
you're
not in
taking.
honestly, not in the last 15 years or 20 years. In the old days when I was starting, out in coaching, that was that reputation. But I can point out so many guys in the NBA now that you guys have watched
Mhm.
and like a Bogdanovich, Doncic. You can't say Jokic is soft. So
That's
that
true.
and so many guys, Batum, these guys are killers, and that's changed. And Karchenkov's the kind of guy, if like his dad was a tough guy. He's played with older guys. So, if there's a softness to anybody, it's usually the African kids like City's coming out of Spain. And not that City's soft, but a lot of those Senegalese kids are not built powerfully yet. They're usually tall and lanky. And I wouldn't say they're necessarily soft. They just got to physically mature into their bodies. Whereas if you look at Karchenkov, I mean, he already looks like he's going to, be a guy that you want in a back alley with you.
For sure, yeah. And he took a couple of shots
He
against
did.
Florida, and
He did.
it got back. Took him a while, but he got back up. He got banged up and
Yeah, he
and and
did. He
and,
did.
and
His
stuff.
his octave level went high, really high on the one shot.
Yeah, well, I guess they said after the game it looked like it was a low blow, but I guess it was actually like in his lower stomach. But still,
Yeah,
didn't look like it felt good either way.
yeah,
Let me ask you about the rotation. I mean, specifically the starting lineup, because you had Toby Awaka, who was the starter for Arizona last year,
yeah.
come off the bench. Same with Del Orso. Then, of course, you got a few minutes of Aristode. Do you like that lineup for Arizona, or do you see possibility of Tommy tinkering with it a little bit?
Well, I think the one guy that kind of disappointed last night was Krivas. And maybe because that was the best front line in college basketball coming into the season.
Yeah.
But I think Mo's got to probably get back in the groove after missing, most of last year. I'd like to see a little more toughness out of him on the glass. You guys have followed him for 2 years. He's not a shot blocker like you would expect from a 7 footer, like Kalkbrenner was for Creighton. So Mo, I think, has got to kind of round back into form. I got a feeling that you're going to see a lot of Toby Awaka and Koa at the 4 and 5 on the nights where Mo's not able to, do his thing. So he's the one guy I think you got to see more of to get him going a little bit. And then, like I said, Aristode's going to be fine. He can play the 3 or the 4. Del Orso looked really comfortable last night. He's still not going to be a lockdown defender, but certainly more comfortable. It looks like he's gotten stronger. So, 8 man rotation is ideal, and I think some days it's going to be 9 for them.
My only concern coming out of this game, Fran, and it was a concern going into the season as well, is just Arizona's ability to finish these kinds of games. I mean, Arizona was up 9 with about a minute and a half, minute 45 left, and Florida had a chance to tie after
Yep.
a couple of turnovers. Do you find like that's more of an issue with younger teams? And if so, does Arizona just need to rely more on guys like Jaden Bradley and Anthony Del Orso down the stretch?
Well, keep in mind it was the first game, and what happens early in the year, even if you've been practicing a while, you can work on your press offense, but until you see it live, right, the press defense. And remember, they caught two. Florida caught 2 huge breaks because One time, I can't remember who was inbounding, but they just threw it right to the defender. And then the other time, somebody slipped. And, so they were
Yeah, that
kind
was
of,
Jaden Bradley who slipped when Florida had a chance to tie
yeah.
with a wide open look
I know
there.
you
Yeah.
guys had your throat in your mouth when I think it might have been Boogie
Oh
Fland
yeah.
was shooting that ball because I thought it was going in too. But no, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, that's going to be something that's going to be cleaned up. You don't expect to be perfect first game out, especially in that environment. And I'm not worried about them closing games out. The reason I'm not is because they do have one of the best point guards in the country that can control the tempo and make his free throws. And, when you do get it to him, you're usually going to be in good shape. Florida threw caution to the wind in the final minute and a half and really made it interesting. And then in terms of closing it out, I mean, for the most part, the Cats made their free throws, which was critical.
Let me just I'll ask you one more. Actually, I got two more for you, Fran, and I'll let Eric wrap it
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
So Arizona's got still a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule.
yeah,
They're at UConn, true road game against UConn. UCLA essentially a road game in LA. Alabama, same deal. They're
yeah.
at home against Auburn. And they play San Diego State up here where we live in Phoenix. Real quick, Arizona. You think they go 3-2, 4-1 of those games? You think that are you maybe upping that total based on what you saw against Florida?
Well, I think when you look at the schedule, this is a coach thinking now, right? And you look at a 6 game gauntlet, you go, man, you know what? Even if we go 3-3, we're good because they're all ranked teams.
Yeah,
None of those teams are going to hurt. None of those losses will hurt you in the Ken Palm or the net.
yeah.
But now you get greedy and you go, man, we just beat the number one team in the country. Let's see if we can go 4-2. Now, I don't think Tommy's telling the team that because it's game by game. But from the outside looking in as a former coach, see, I said this to you guys when I told you about Brett Yormark. I think Arizona's a top 10 team even before yesterday. I just felt that way because of who they had back and who they had coming in. A little pushback, but I think they may have as good a freshman class as the Ballyhooed Houston freshman class. Those are two really similar classes in that they got a bunch of each has a bunch of freshmen that can help keep the team in the top 10. And I do think no matter what happens in the non-conference, they're going to go into January 3rd, which I think is their first conference game, and they might not have more than 3 losses, maybe only 2. And if so, they're going to be ranked in the top 10 because, as I said, none of those losses are going to be impactful from a negative standpoint. I'll be at the Alabama game in Birmingham. That'll be my first Wildcat game in December. But it's a great schedule. A lot of the teams, if you notice, in the top 10 it's almost like they have their own league.
Yeah.
Auburn and Alabama are playing the same teams that Arizona's playing, whether it's Gonzaga, whether it's Purdue, whether it's UConn. Kansas is playing a lot of these teams. So Duke. So it's really almost like they got their own league in November and December. And those games for the Wildcats are going to only help them going into conference play.
Yeah, and hopefully my co-host remembers that when he freaks out about Arizona's non-conference schedule every year. But I agree with you 100%. Last question for you, Fran. You got G League guys now looking to play college hoops.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's the Wild West out there. How do you fix it, or is it unfixable at this point?
Well, at this point right now, it's unfixable because no one's willing to fix it. I mean, there's no commissioner, there's no commission. I tweeted out the other day, I don't care what you do, like in the NHL, right? You get drafted, a kid from Harvard or Boston U gets drafted by the Canucks. They're still the Vancouver Canucks, right? Yeah. Or the New York Rangers. They can go back to college even though the Rangers or the Canucks have their rights. We need something to legislate international players coming over, especially the 22 and 23-year-olds. We need to legislate, like, what are we doing with JUCO players, G League guys? In and of themselves, individually, I'm not against any of them. I just want somebody to create a system where everybody understands the rules, everybody understands that there's certain consequences for breaking those rules. Right now, I mean, we basically have lawlessness. This is like opening the doors to Best Buy and with no security.
Well, can I tell you, friend, the thing that drives me crazy is you have coaches speaking out about this,
Yeah.
and then like they get on the train and it's like, oh, I'm going to try to get that guy too. So it's like I feel like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Am
Yeah,
I
and
wrong?
I just think they want to keep up with the Joneses, but I think
Yeah.
if you put them, the Tom Izzos, I think Tommy Lloyd's in this category, but he's still a little younger. But the Matt Painters, the guys like that, they want what's best for the good of all of college basketball. And they're certainly going to help themselves if they can. But trust me, they would be more concerned about making sure the rules are fair than, oh, can we steal this G League guy? Everybody's going to want to have the best players on their rosters. But I think for the good of the game, we need some sanity and we need some what we call them guardrails, right? And we need a commissioner or a commission or people that are willing to make tough decisions so that we can get back to some sort of normalcy. But we don't have that right now. Right now, I mean, think about it. All four major league sports have salary caps for a reason, for a reason. And we don't have salary caps necessarily in college sports. That's insane.
Yeah, you look at what
and
Texas Tech
and
did.
an unlimited free agency too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
every year you're a free agent again. It's crazy.
It'd be like if your favorite team, and by the way, when the transfer portal isn't open in the middle of the NCAA tournament, that would be like halfway through the NBA playoffs, and the Suns are rolling along, and Devin Booker's a free agent, decides he's going to sign with somebody.
Well, that won't be an issue, but I understand. But I take your point. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I understand.
All right, so Coach, yeah, we don't have to worry about the Suns. That's anytime soon. Coach, we got to talk about your background here for a second. Arizona plays Kansas in football this week. I don't know if you're I don't know if you're giving a pick on that game. You're going to pick Kansas. I don't know if you're telling us that Kansas is going to win the Big 12 in basketball. What do you got with that background here?
Full disclosure, you guys know I was fooling with a good background before we came on, and this was the only one that looked normal to me. When I get into arenas, I'll do this I'll do it McHale this year. I like to take a picture of the arena empty and then think if I can use it as a Zoom background. And so that's why that popped up. But there are some Wildcat fans that are going to be watching and listening and thinking that there's a subliminal, bias here towards KU.
No, just so people know, friend, you tried to use your McHale Center background, and you weren't able to pop through the background, so we're just seeing like half of you. So we had to settle with
honestly,
KU.
you know what's funny, Shane? My McHale Center background was backwards.
Interesting.
It was backwards. I would have used it because.
Well, you know what? Next time you come to McHale, you got to get a photo with the cactus on the court now.
And see, that's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
Fran, I'm looking at it, and I'm putting the over/under of Arizona games that you call this year at 6.5. You taking the over, the under?
It's close. If you're not counting the Big 12 tournament, which I'll be doing 3 there, right? Because quarters, semis, finals, right? But no, I think in a regular season, I'd safely say home and away, probably 5 of their 18. So I'll see them quite a bit, and I can't wait. I hope I see them up at BY. I love, being a former New Mexico Lobo, I love, and I am 1-0 in McHale, by the way. I might have mentioned that.
Yes. Don't talk. We discussed that last time. It's painful. Yeah, painful.
But I had to put it on Lute, whip his butt. But just joking. I love Coach Olson to death. He was great to me. But no, I hope I'm in Tucson, and I hope I'm in Provo a lot. And not just because the teams are going to be good, but because those are 2 fan bases that I don't have to tell you guys absolutely love college basketball. And so last year was a treat for me, coming to McHale a couple times because I'm quite aware of the incredible tradition. It's a blue blood, and the team's good, and so I'm excited about coming back.
Coach, really want to thank you once again. It's an honor to be able to chat with you. You're so generous with your time, and I would love to have you on during the season. We're going to be watching and appreciating your wisdom. And let's hope you're right about that Final Four thing that you and your Mark were talking about.
Well, it's funny. I think I talked about this with you guys last time. One of the great things about Arizona coming into the Big 12, and because I'm so associated with the league, is I think your fan base now knows I know as much about Arizona as I do about Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to treat the Wildcats exactly like the other teams in this league, especially when the teams are rolling, right? And Arizona has got great tradition. I want Arizona fans to say, wow, this guy's not Johnny come lately. He knows our team. So you can rest assured that I will know a lot about the Cats when I call a game on TV.
I would say anyone who's listened for the last 15 minutes, 20 minutes knows that very well by now.
No, it's fun. And I have such great appreciation. I think my texts are going off, but I have great appreciation for the history and the program. Coach Olson was one of a kind. And I mean that. He was so kind to me. And, his legacy lives on. And Coach Lloyd, I know there's some little, we got to get to the Final Four, but I think if you're a sane Arizona fan, you got to love what he's done in building this program. And better days ahead. There's a couple kids in Phoenix, as you know, that are. I've seen them play, and I coached one of them. Can I say recruits on your podcast?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I love Cam Holmes. I don't know where he's going to go, but Cam Holmes would be a great Wildcat. I know his brother played at Dayton, but he is a wonderful young man, and Cam Williams as well. So a lot of intensity or intrigue going on here down the stretch in recruiting, but we'll see what happens.
Discover more Play for All at Harrahs Auction Casino.
Hi, folks. Here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrahs Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for All at Harrahs Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.
Shane, I have to say, this is one of our best shows that we've had in a long time. You talk about just powerhouse guest after powerhouse guest. We had Fran Fraschilla last segment. We have Mike Kintner next segment from Harrahs Auction Casino. And then we have the best football analyst that comes on Wildcat Country, our buddy Barrett Baker from the Tucson Fire Department, former special team standout at the University of Arizona. You've seen him a bunch of times on this program. We're always glad to have him. Barrett, it's great talking to you. I said this before you came on. 52-17. Shane and I talked about this earlier. I thought Arizona let off the gas too early. And I don't usually say that. Run it up on Colorado. Where do you stand with that?
I think at the end of the day, when you're up 52-17 or whatever the score may be, that bad person in your head almost says, hey, do we want to take our foot off the gas so we don't get our folks injured? And I would probably say that almost the flip side to that for me is that I think it's critically important that we find out if our second and third team kids are ready to come in and contribute and still play at that high level. So when we were up 52-10 or whatever it was, 52-17 in the late third quarter, our first team defense was still in there. And so I would almost say the opposite of that in some ways. I thought, let's get those second string kids in there, because I think this is critically important too, that we understand this, that there is 22 kids on a team that are happy, and there's 80 that are happy when you're winning, but it's a grind. And so the reason that you play this game is to play the game. And it does wonders for chemistry and to keep the team engaged when you do have opportunities to play the backups, because that's what it all boils down to, is playing under the lights on a Saturday night. And so getting our second team kids in there and getting some of the third team kids some real quality time, I think was really, really important as well. And I didn't think there was much drop off defensively. Offensively, we can talk about that. But again, I think that would be my counter to that, is that the depth portion of that and developing when when it's live, so to speak, is critically important.
Barry, you were in Boulder for the game. Just your overall experience at Folsom, what was that like? And then what the final score, was that more Arizona is that good or Colorado is that bad?
Great question, Shane. And going into this game, I was extremely nervous in the aspect that Colorado got taken to the woodshed, obviously, against Utah. And so there's two ways you can go with that. Was that a fluke, and were they going to come out and refocus and really give us a battle? Or hopefully what happened, did end up coming to fruition, which is the fact that we jumped on them and we took away any hope that they had. And I think getting, 7-0 right off the bat, and then kicking the field goal, and then getting the huge defensive the defensive turnover deep in their territory and capitalizing and being up 17-0 before they could breathe, it took the life out of the stadium. And that's really important when you go on the road, that it's a home field advantage when they can cheer. It's not a home field advantage if there's nothing for them to cheer about. And so that was really, really important to capitalize on some of their mistakes. And then I think we could really say this. We know that we lost two games that were absolute heartbreakers to BYU and to Houston.
Yep.
So you have to win that game. And how does the team react? And the third component to that is that, quite frankly, we haven't played great on the road under Coach Brennan, and that's not attributable to him per se, but we just haven't. The results haven't been very good. So I think when you put all of that into play to come out like we did and just take care of business, it was big for the program. It was big for the kids. And I think quite honestly, it's big for the coaches because, Coach Prime is what he is. And he still has the ability to attract a lot of recruits and the program itself. The place was still sold out even when they're struggling. And that is Coach Brennan beating Coach Prime. And so what does that do then for our recruiting and the success of the program? So just there was a lot that went into that. Boulder's it's a beautiful city. It's a good college town. But ultimately, when we can make 48,000 people leave sad, then we did our mission.
And it's crazy. This is the first game where really Colorado fans had really nothing to cheer about when Deion Sanders is head coach, because Colorado lost its first 7 home games under Deion Sanders by a combined 33 points. They lost this one by 35. So more remarkable what Arizona did in that context. Noah Fafita, I think he's playing some of the best football of his career. Is there a Big 12 quarterback that you would take ahead of him right now?
No, because I think he matches the system that we're in. And so there might be guys that are faster. There might be guys that are taller. There might be guys that, arm strength is going to be tough to beat him. But individually, someone might have an individual better statistic. But he is playing out of his mind. And I think the synergy between he and Coach Daigie is really fantastic right now. I think you alluded to this. Not only is he making big plays for us, but he's not making big plays against us, if you will.
Right.
And, the lack of turnovers and knowing now necessarily live to fight another day. So, he did, I'm jinxing it because he did make one throw late or in the first half there where he probably shouldn't have thrown it rolling out of the pocket and it got intercepted, but we got away with one because of the roughing the passer. But that's not something that generally speaking he's done. And it's not easy. You're playing against Division I caliber defensive athletes every single week that game plan and scheme, and they're trying everything that they can do to stop you. And he's just carving them up right now and really making offense look, I wouldn't say easy, but he's just on the same page. I think the weapons that we've surrounded him with on the field with his wide receivers, the tight end, the running backs, and then again, just Coach Daigie and him working together. It's fun to see after last year struggled. That would be an understatement, correct?
To say the least.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the defense for a second because in 22 we said, "Oh, Arizona's defense is horrible. Oh, they're gonna be bad in 23. They were really good." Then we said, "Oh, they're gonna be not bad in 24. They were awful." And then in 25 we're thinking, "Oh, they're not gonna be very good." And they've been really good. 5 turnovers on Saturday. What can you say about Danny Gonzalez and the job he's doing?
Well, I think the receipts are there, and we talked about this a lot on the show. So not to be repetitive, but what was he before he got here? He was a head coach at New Mexico, and that didn't go great. But, man, when he has been a defensive coordinator at his 3 previous stops, he has been lights out. And I think the scheme that we run, sometimes it can be frustrating from a traditional standpoint when we see 3 down linemen and Houston's running against us, let's say. But the confusion that he's causing these offensive coordinators and canceling these gaps and just not showing much in the way of weakness, it's fun. And I think the more fun component, or just as fun, is that Coach Gonzalez, he's an open book, and he really describes the thought process in why he's calling certain things. And then he's very transparent about why things didn't work in certain cases. And I think that that's refreshing as a fan because we get a lot of coach speak in a majority of the time, but he will tell you specifics. He'll tell you when, and he doesn't call them out by name, but he'll tell you when we had a call, and if someone was supposed to drop into a certain zone and they busted coverage, well, that's the reason behind it most of the time. But he'll also be, not necessarily thinking he's perfect. And like when Houston made a good call against us in a 3rd and long or a 3rd and short, he says tip of the cap to them. So it's important to realize, though, that you've got 11 guys getting to the ball with bad intentions. And it's easy to say that, and every coach wants that out of their defense. You want your defense to fly to the ball, but we're seeing that more often than not. And again, a couple of hiccups against BYU and Houston, but maybe, just maybe, that's more of a tribute to them and not necessarily bad against us, because now we have played 8 games, correct? We're 5-3. We've played 8 games, and in 6 of those games, we've played fantastic defense, and in 2 of those games, we had our hands full and didn't quite get the job done. But I'd say that the 6 are more indicative of what type of defense we have compared to the 2. And the statistical improvement is just jaw-dropping when you see where we were last year compared to where we are this year.
We talked a few weeks ago that Colorado is a must-win game for Arizona, and Brent Brennan got it done, and in big fashion, and it should have been bigger, but that's another story. Is this a must-win game in your opinion on Saturday? You're favored at home. Homecoming would get you to bowl eligibility. The easiest game on the remainder of your schedule. Would you say must win here?
Let me break that down. It's a very fair question, but the challenge is this. If we beat Kansas, which I expect that we will, Kansas is going to be tough. They're well coached and they're physical, but I still think that we have the advantage that we can beat them. But if we beat them and we're 6-3, and then what happens if we lose the last 3? Now you're going into the 6-6, and it takes a little bit of the momentum away. So I would just say that every game individually is the most important game of the year. Okay. And you have to start with Kansas. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, it does take the heat off of the program in the aspect that now we can say we're bowl eligible. But once we do that and you're 6-3, it is what have you done for me lately? Because now you go and you play against Cincinnati on a tough road game. And they showed some vulnerability this past week. Obviously, Cincinnati did, and they're not unbeatable. And then you've got Baylor at home, and I don't know what to think about Baylor. They probably think the same about us. We could beat them. We could lose to them, correct? And then obviously the final game of the season against the bad people up north, that game has changed dramatically with their injury situation. So in 3 or 4 weeks, we could talk about the fact that did we win out? Or did we struggle and not do as well as we wanted? But going back to the Kansas game, they got a good quarterback. He's a physical quarterback. He runs a lot. And, we can say that we've quasi-struggled against that type of quarterback. So that's a little bit concerning. But when you focus on the strengths of our team, we are clicking on offense and we're clicking on defense. And when we are playing complementary football, then we're a tough team to beat.
Barrett, as far as position by position, the biggest surprise to me, pleasant surprise, is the offensive line. And I think Coach Oglesby's done a heck of a job. Yeah, I've seen so many different. There's so many different ratings out there, but like just about everyone I've seen, Arizona's top 10, top 20 nationally offensive line, unfathomable when the season began. What have you seen from this offensive line, just in the last couple of games and their maturation over the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you highlighted that because we need to talk about that for a minute. The internet is a tough place as we talk about frequently. Coach Oglesby, prior to being hired at Arizona, was a Broyles Award finalist for being a top assistant coach in the country when he was at San Jose State. And they don't give that away to people. So that was his resume. Now he comes here and he's almost run out of town, and people are apoplectic about the fact that Coach Brennan retained him this offseason when it came to some of the coaching changes that we made. But he played at a high level. He's coached at a high level, and he knows how to coach the game. The biggest change is that we've got some players that are just playing at an extremely high level. And again, it's full circle because for Coach Fletcher Kelly and Geiska Crowley, the GM, they were able to pick some guys out of the portal, namely Ty Buchanan, who is just playing at an NFL level at left tackle, which is your bookend. And then Kayane DeCambra has come in and held down that center spot. And I mean, listen, Josh Baker, no relation, but awesome guy, was a fantastic center for us for 4 years. But Kayane to come in and literally not lose any productivity out of the center position, which is critical when it comes to your protections and that sort of, anchoring the offensive line. Again, Deuce getting better at the right guard position. And then, our big kid out of Michigan who has just come in and he's 6'8", so he's tall. And what did we have with him when it came to, was he going to be physical enough? And then he has shown that. Tristan has shown that. He's really done a great job on the right side. And then the left guard, Chuba, to come in and flip a guy from the defensive tackle position, move him into an offensive guard. I think at the end of spring, same thing. A lot of people are like, heaven forbid if Chuba's our left guard, what is that going to mean? But boy, the 5 of them are playing lights out together. They're being coached right. The scheme is working for them, and they're just getting better every week, because that was one of the huge issues last year. We had 7 different offensive line combinations out of those 12 games. 7. And this game, or this year, I'm not going to jinx it, but we've had continuity up front, and obviously the results are speaking for themselves.
I think they released a couple touchdown passes against Colorado that wouldn't have happened last year simply because Noah Fafita wouldn't have had enough time to throw and stay in the pocket and do it. So, absolutely. On the flip side of that, Barrett, and this will be my last question for you. I'll let Eric wrap it up. But, the Arizona secondary is fantastic. Dalton Johnson is my favorite player on the team. Love that guy. Had a pick against BYU and then one against Colorado as well. I think Arizona's biggest liability is still up front on defense. I think they get pushed around a bit. We saw it against BYU. We saw it against Houston. I think that could be a concern against Kansas, and I'd even go as far to say, I mean, they issue games a few weeks away, but I think that could be an issue for them in Tempe as well. But is that that position specifically, is that Arizona's biggest weakness going forward, and how do you counter that?
I mean, let's break that down real quick, and I do want to highlight Dalton Johnson, because Dalton last year had to play in the box as a linebacker because of the number of injuries that we had. And to take a 200-pound kid and put him in the box, and the number of tackles and the productivity that he did last year was amazing. But to put him back at his natural position where he's been playing this year, you will not find 3 safeties across the country that are better than Trade and Dalton and Genesis. And that's just the way it is. And then the 2 corners on top of that, they're just locking down things, and they're making it difficult for teams to throw. So going to the front, Tia Savea, he's a big kid. He's tough to move. And ultimately, he was having to play a lot of snaps. Leroy Palu, he's coming in as a JC kid and learning, how to play it at one level up. But Coach Salavea highlighted the fact in the press conference this week that he is just getting better every single week. He's getting more comfortable with the scheme. He's understanding the why behind things and starting to really play at a high level. And then I think our last one, Deshaun McKnight, what a find out of the transfer portal. So those 3 are kind of that starting core, and they are big enough and strong enough. But now if you throw in the X factor of Zach Siulepa that just came in and had some real productivity against Colorado, you can never have enough big guys up front. And being able to rotate those guys, Mays, Pace, the true freshmen, that's critically important to really battle through those tough times when you're playing against the physical teams, because it's 4-quarter game, and in today's world with the lack of huddling and this and that, you're getting upwards of 50 to 70 plays. So the more depth that we're able to do and to spell these guys and keep them fresh throughout the course of the game, that's the key. There's no cavalry coming. And so Coach Salavea has done a phenomenal job of trying to maintain what this defense calls for. But I think Coach Gonzalez can offset that sometimes with putting in these crazy combinations with Riley and Chase Kennedy and Dom and, Quinn and just the different things to mask that. Because ultimately the offensive line has 5 guys and they got to block people. And if they don't know where the guy is that they're supposed to block because we're coming from so many different angles, then that's the name of the game. And so speed sometimes can offset size. And so if we have those linebacker packages that are crashing gaps and doing those sorts of things, then those are the offsets. So just when it comes to size and girth, we might not necessarily be able to hold up to some of these bigger offensive lines for 60 or 70 snaps. And that's where Coach Gonzalez has to get a little bit more ingenious, so to speak, with his personnel groupings and where he's attacking from.
All right, Barrett, we ask you every time you're on. Time for a score prediction on Saturday. You'll be there. I'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully fans will be there. Arizona had to send out an email today on Tuesday with another ticket promotion, 25% off all tickets. They're trying. Got to give them credit. Will Arizona get their 6th win on Saturday?
I do believe so, because I think that you're starting to see things really coalesce with this offense. And until someone can figure out how to take away, the running game, then we're going to throw with success. And when they take away the throw, now Marty's busting these big ones, and Ked and some of the freshmen, and Quincy Craig had a great game. So pick your poison. And I think that's a good thing, is that you have to stop the Arizona offense, which I don't think teams are going to be able to do. And then, like we talked about earlier, I'm more apt to think that our defense is the defense that has shown up 6 times rather than the defense that had some struggles in the 2 games. So I still think we're in a good shape. I think that we can score 35 plus points against Kansas. I really do. And I just think that this could be one of those games where it's a 35-17 type of game.
All right, 35-17 it is. We're not going to ruin our picks for later in the show. Well, next segment. But Barrett, as always, we appreciate you coming on with us. You keep it real. There's positivity. We all feel it. And I hope the fans pack the stadium. We talk about this all the time. You show up. If you're in Tucson, it's a 1:30 game on Saturday. Yeah. It's going to be, I assume, and I haven't looked at the forecast, beautiful weather, right? 80 degrees, something like that.
Yeah, gotta be.
Gotta be there. What do we know? Do we have a forecast on this game?
You guys keep talking for a minute, and I'll look it up for
you. You can't write a better script, Eric.
No.
Correct? It's homecoming. It's 1:30 with an 84-degree forecast, roughly. And you're about to potentially get 6 wins to become bowl eligible.
On a team that nobody had confidence in, including a lot of us. Yeah.
And the coaching staff can beg, borrow, and steal. The marketing team can do all of these things, but ultimately it's up to the city of Tucson to get behind the kids, get behind the program, and let's do it the right way. And I double fingers crossed, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, Hulk Hogan, all that stuff. Get there. Have a great day on Saturday. Let's watch the Wildcats take care of business.
As always, Barrett, we thank you so much for joining us. And I will say this to close this segment. If you are in Tucson, you're listening to this podcast, and you're an Arizona fan, show the F up on Saturday. Shane, I alluded to this earlier in the show, but, if you had sat with me last night, as one of my buddies did, watching the game against Florida, in the first 5 minutes, I thought the season was over. Fortunately, we bring on somebody to end the show who's a lot more positive than I am generally. And that might be a good thing. We'll find out what he thinks about his picks. But our friend Mike Kintner, who's the general manager of Harrahs Auction Casino, joins us. All right, Mike, first of all, let's start with Arizona, Florida last night. You caught most of the game. How good is this Arizona team in your opinion?
I mean, all you can say really is wow. How about them Wildcats? It was like so amazing. Beat the number 3 team in the country, last year's national champions, Koa Peat. Man, I got to see him live, and it was Perry High School, right in my backyard. I live in Chandler. Got to see him play against Basha a couple times, and he looked so dominant in high school, and man, he looked so dominant last night on that basketball court. And I think, as far as Arizona Wildcat basketball goes this year, I think, you didn't really even get to see Burries yet or Aristote. I think there's nothing but upside. Ivan, how great did that kid look? But I mean, I'm all in. I think this year, it's a really tough schedule. We all know that. I think, we're not going to win every game, but I think, sky's the limit for this team.
Wow. All right. I mean, Shane's critiquing me for wanting to buy Final Four tickets. Let's not get carried away here. We all know better, but I'll tell you don't get much better of a start. Now, before we do college football picks, and that's what you're gonna help us out with, tell us what's going on over at Harrahs Auction Casino. You guys have a new sports bar that's coming in the next year or less.
Yeah, less. So yeah, we are. It's under construction. It's going to be Caesar's Sports Bar here at Harrahs Auction. Caesar's Entertainment manages this business for the Auction Indian community. Caesar's Rewards, our loyalty program. You come out, you get a card, you do all sorts of fun stuff here at Harrahs Auction. So yeah, Caesar's Sports Bar is going to be an amazing place. A lot of our competitors, a lot of our local casinos, they build these big, sports books. You can go, look like traditional sports books. You can sit down and watch a game sort of thing. This going to be a sports bar. It's going to be a restaurant. It's going to be somewhere you can go. You can sit at the bar. You can sit in the restaurant. It's going to be all ages, so you can bring your family with you to come do that. It's gonna be excellent food in there. Caesars themed. You can place your wagers on a kiosk there or at our sports book counter, Caesars Sportsbook counter on property, and it's going to be amazing. Looking to be up and doing our grand opening early in March. So
Cool.
For basketball, which we started off with, as we're heading into conference tournaments and then the NCAA tournament, you'll be able to come here and see it live.
March is a good time. March is a good time to have that open. And you might not know this, Mike, but my co-host is a bit of a gambler himself, so he may partake.
Sure. Yeah.
I was not the last time I was at Harrahs auction, or one of the last times I was not allowed to bet. The last time you and I had lunch, Mike, I did not bet, but
Did they cut you off?
They did not. I don't think I'm that sharp of a bettor, but as evidenced by my picks this season. However, I can assure you that when we come out and hopefully are able to broadcast out there at some point next year, I will partake in betting, and I plan on taking money from Harrahs Auction Casino with my successful bets. We'll see how that goes. I hate to say that to the GM, but it's just, what can I say? Hey, Mike, let's we're not going to take money right now from Harrahs Auction, but first of all, is there anything else you want to promote? I mean, we've been doing some reads for some great promotions. One that just kind of ended last Friday. I think it was a giveaway, a $2,000 giveaway, something like that. So that was pretty cool. Is there anything else you guys have coming up for the holidays? I know last year you had a big New Year's show. You got anything you can reveal for us at this point?
Well, since we're in the month of November, I can't believe it's November already, but and an awesome sports time all the way around, right? You got college basketball now, college football, pros, NBA, NFL. Obviously that World Series that just wrapped up. What a great time of year, right? All these sports. But for those that don't want to cook and want to maybe not stay at home or want to get out for Thanksgiving, we do have some awesome offerings for folks. You can come out, prefix menu in our steakhouse, chop, block, and brew. So 3-course meal, $59.99 a person. Come on out. We also have something in our Oak and Fork restaurant, traditional turkey, mashed potatoes, yams, green beans, pumpkin tiramisu, $29.99 a person. So really take off the cooking lift. Come out, get to enjoy everything about Harrahs Auction, get a hotel room, stay the night, partake in all the entertainment we have to offer. Plus, we'll do the cooking. So, if you want to come out around that Thanksgiving time frame, and on that Saturday, we actually have open to all Caesars Rewards members, so you can sign up as a Caesars Reward member that day. You have to earn 1 tier credit, which isn't very hard to do by playing with us, and then you can receive your holiday socks and holiday blanket. So we have that out there open to all our guests. So
awesome,
right there, so you can see it. So you can come on out and do that. So that's at the 27th Thanksgiving and 29th with that Saturday promotion. So all sorts of other fun stuff going on out here. Food and beverage, gaming, the auction circle next door with the movie theater, arcade and restaurants. So lots of fun stuff to do. Come on out and see us.
It is a great place. And as I said, Shane and I, look forward to being able to broadcast from that new sports bar sometime next year. All right, we have you on this week. In part, we like to have you on every quarter or so, but you went to Arizona, you went to Kansas. I don't know very many people that can say that. We're going to have you pick the game, but we're going to run through these other games quickly. Shane, let's start with our upset special. You and I, first of all, in terms of picks, tied last week. I hit the Arizona game. You hit more total picks than I did. We are tied at 58 on the year. This is how 58 points. This is how you get a point here. 1 point for a spread pick, 1 for an upset special cover, 1 point if they win the game outright, and 2 points for Arizona's game. Shane, what do you have as your upset special this week?
Very small upset, but I'm going to take Maryland as, last time I checked, a 1.5 point underdog at Rutgers. Maryland's lost 4 games in a row. 3 of those losses were by 4 or fewer points. So the records are similar, but I think Maryland is just a bit better, and I'm going to take the Terps on the road.
Mike, your pick we're going to save because it's a Big 12 pick, so we'll get to that one. Now let's start with 3 games, non-Big 12 related. I'll just kind of run through picks. Oregon -5.5 at Iowa. Texas A&M -7 at Missouri, and LSU at Alabama, who is a 10.5 point favorite. Now, we all took Oregon -5.5 at Iowa. Don't need to say much about that. We're all taking Missouri +7 against undefeated Texas A&M at home. We are split, though, on LSU at Alabama. Shane, you're going with Alabama laying 10.5 points. Why?
The dysfunction at LSU, what A&M did to him, and I think Alabama's rolling right now. That the Florida State game seems like an aberration, and Ty Simpson is marching on for his Heisman bid. So I got Bama covering.
Mike, you and I are taking LSU. We think this game's going to be a little bit closer. This is one of those rivalry games. Throw out the records, kind of like ASU U of A. You throw it out sometimes. Close game. That's why I think this is decided by a touchdown or so. And Mike, I'm sure you probably agree. We're both going LSU, and we're going to gain a point on Shane there when that happens. Let's move on to Big 12 games. Mike, tell us your upset special because it's the first Big 12 game we're going to talk about.
Going with the space game. So, you got UCF who hosts that space game every year. Arizona's participated. We're a space school, right? So as well, we participated. I believe I read the stat earlier. I think UCF is 8-0 in their space games, right? So Houston coming in. I think they've played them in the space game before and lost. That's a lot, man. 8-0. Like, just looking at it from a gambler's perspective, and coming in on that kind of thing. Pressure's on UCF. I like Houston lines. Houston's getting 1.5, and I think Houston's gonna win it outright.
So Shane, Houston last week laid a complete egg against West. I mean, it was like shocking how bad. It was like one of the worst eggs and I was live betting it too, so it was real bad. You think they're going to bounce back as well?
I think so. I think that was a classic letdown game against West Virginia, coming off the win at ASU. I think Connor Wigman's going to bounce back, and the defense will look at least halfway sharp, and Houston recovers. By the way, did you give us your upset special, Eric?
Oh, I did not. I'm sorry. Thank you, Shane. I was going so quickly. I'm going Florida State plus 2.5 at Clemson for my upset special. Clemson has played 4 games at home against Power 4 teams this year. They are 0-4. They're going to be 0-5 when Florida State beats them. Just not Dabo's year. Clemson, our national championship pick, Shane, real bad.
You didn't have to remind people of that, Eric.
Well, normally my national championship Super Bowl picks are not bad. In the Super Bowl, I had Commanders against Ravens, who are real bad. And you and I had Clemson, and I think it was Penn State. So we really,
I forgot about that.
We really struggled.
And I had K-State winning the Big 12. So please fade my picks every single step of the way.
So all right, we're all taking Houston there. Then we've got this one. This is interesting. Colorado at West Virginia, who is giving 6.5 to the Buffs. We saw what Arizona did to West Virginia, to Colorado last week. It was brutal. I wish they played West Virginia. I believe it's next year in Morgantown. You guys are taking West Virginia to cover the line. I am taking Colorado to bounce back with Julian Lewis, that 5-star freshman, making a start on the road. I mean, can Colorado be much worse? West Virginia letdown game. I have a feeling that Colorado keeps it close. Shane, you don't like that?
I think Colorado's broken, man. I mean, I think Arizona winning, that credit to the Wildcats, but I think that the margin was more a reflection of just how bad Colorado is. And so it's more, I think West Virginia, that they're capable of winning, but it's more that I think Colorado is just checked out.
All right, we all agree with TCU minus 6.5 over Iowa State. Iowa State, you talk about laying an egg. I don't know what that was against ASU, but it was pathetic against a backup quarterback without their top receiver. So we're all taking TCU at home. Now, here's the big one of the week. Top 10 matchup, College Game Day is there. Texas Tech is minus 10 against BYU. Now, Mike, were you at the BYU-Arizona game in the rain? Did you go to that?
I was, yeah. And, in BYU, that quarterback looks good. So he's a big kid. It was like I caught after the rain. I caught the rest of the game. At one of our friend's sons who tends to use his apartment and saw it. But I mean, what a slugfest that was. But I think BYU continues to improve, and I think 10's a lot of points, man. I think they got a puncher's chance in that one.
So you didn't wait out the rain delay like Shane and I did, cowering under cover for 90 minutes.
No, I did not. So we were able to hoof it back to the apartment and soaking wet. So it didn't matter if we stayed or went back, but I watched it on TV, and it was exciting.
You left at the right time. Because I kind of wish that I did and had started the drive home after what Shane and I had to witness in the second half and blowing that in overtime. Shane, you and I are taking Texas Tech. I think this is the week that BYU just gets splattered here by a really good Texas Tech team.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going with a splatter, but I think 10 points is a lot, but I think Tech is just that good. And BYU is, I mean, I'm convinced they're for real, but I think they're due for a loss. Tech's at home. You just look at the numbers. They are the best. Texas Tech is the best team in the conference, despite what the conference records show right now. So I think Texas Tech puts it to BYU a little bit.
And now it's on to the Kintner Bowl, as we'll call it. Kansas at Arizona. The Wildcats favored by 4.5. Mike, you get to start us off with your score prediction and maybe some rationale.
Well, I did attend Kansas early in my college career for about 3 years, and then transferred to U of A. I am a Wildcat through and through. Got my my degree from University of Arizona and my MBA from Arizona as well. So, and I also have my youngest son he's a freshman there at U of A. So we are all in. I've got family. I think they consider me alumni at Kansas for the amount of credits that I completed there. And I do have, there's a small place, very, very small in my heart for KU, but I like Arizona. I like Arizona, laying the 4.5 points, going to, or with Kansas at home, here in Arizona. I think, KU's decent, but I think Arizona coming off the big game last week. A lot of people say it's gonna be a letdown game, that sort of thing. I think they're gonna keep rolling, get bowl eligible, and I've had this one circled all year, and I like Arizona. I think they can beat them by more than 4.5. Do you want me to give the score now?
Yeah, give your score. Yeah, go ahead.
I think Arizona 31, KU 24. Do with that what you will for the over/under.
All right. Well, that's interesting that you say that. I'll give my pick, and then I don't know what Shane's going to pick here. I'm actually very curious. All right. Arizona showed me what I needed to see last week. It would be a tremendous letdown to lose this game a week after you probably should have scored 80 on Colorado, right? You can't lose this game. We talked about it earlier in the show, Shane. It is a must-win game for the Wildcats. One thing that scares me is the line. Don't you think this line should be closer to 7 or 8?
We talked about that. I texted you after the Colorado game, and I think we both predicted it was going to be in the 7 to 9 point range. So yeah, that line's a little surprising.
It's a little surprising at 4.5. But if it was 3.5, if it was 2.5, I'd be scared. At 4.5, Arizona's going to win and cover. A little bit higher scoring than Kintner predicts. Arizona 34, Kansas 26. Shane, are we going for the clean sweep on this show this week?
Yeah, the line it makes it easier for me to take Arizona with the points, which I'm going to do at the risk of losing my reverse jinx status on social media. Kansas is a decent team, probably a bowl team. They haven't gotten better throughout the season like Arizona has. They lost 42-17 to consecutive opponents at Texas Tech and at home against Kansas State before not covering at home against Oklahoma State last weekend, although they still won comfortably. They're 11th in the conference in total offense, 12th in total defense. Jalen Daniels is a 6-year quarterback. He's got 20 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. He can run the ball. He's third in the Big 12 in pass efficiency, just ahead of Noah Fafita. And KU does have a pair of good running backs who are pretty interchangeable. So I think Jayhawks can move the ball and score, but their defense just isn't frightening. They have the 4th worst red zone defense in the Big 12. They're 5th worst in third down defense, which is a category Arizona struggled with offensively. And Kansas also struggles on offense on third downs, which is an area of strength for Arizona's defense. So not going to be as easy as the Colorado game, and turnovers definitely won't be as easy to come by. But I just think Arizona is the more talented team. They're playing better. They're at home, pretty simple. We all have very similar score predictions, so that worries me a little bit. I've got Arizona 34-27, so we are all on the same page on this one.
We're all around it, and this is the first time that you and I believe, have both picked Arizona at the same time. This outside of the first 2 games, which were obvious, right?
Right. And I'll mention one last thing. Hope if it comes down to a late field goal, which I certainly hope it doesn't. Consider Kansas is number 1 in the conference in field goal percentage. Their kickers are perfect, 12 for 12. And I think 6 for 6, 40 yards or above. Arizona is last in the Big 12, 12 of 19. So hopefully it doesn't come down to a late kick either way and Arizona takes care of business. But if it does in the final minutes, just something to keep in mind.
All right, Mike, you brought the good vibes out in both Shane and me on the show. Thank you so much for joining us as always. Enjoy Arizona, Kansas. Enjoy your travels. I know you'll be going around here the next few weeks, but wishing you all the best with that. And thanks for joining us. Hey, what a show we had on Wildcat Country this week. Mike Kintner from Harrahs Auction Casino. We had go ahead, Mike.
I was saying, as Tommy Lloyd said last night, hey, we got a saying in Tucson, BTFD, let's go. Basketball and football.
Love it.
Well, let's do it.
Fran Fraschilla, Coach Fran Fraschilla, great to catch up with him. Barrett Baker, always glad to have him on the show. What a show it was. So for Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. And as always, bear down.